following program is intended for mature audiences.
Can I ask you kind of a weird question?
What do you say we have a rock and roll party?
Sure you want your one question to be that stupid?
You're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
Follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports.
Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes.
And check out every episode of the show at basicallysports.tumblr.com.
Now here's your hosts, Zach,
Greg, Mike.
And you're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the third annual Basically a Sports Show Ask Us Anything episode, a tradition like no other, where we take questions from you, the listeners, and we answer them. Are we all on the thread, on the boards? Because that's where I put everything so that it would be a nice, easy reference for us all to find.
Yeah.
Okay. Zach, you get the first few. Go ahead.
All right. Our first few questions come from Buffalo, New York, and our good friend Cosmic.
Buffalo, New York. Hello.
Hello. Will you guys be doing anything special for the eclipse on August 21st? For those that don't know, there's going to be a full eclipse going through North America on August 21st. I know my grandparents are going to go visit my mother in Illinois because they just happen to be right in the path of the perfect vision of the eclipse. So they said, we'll go visit. I have to stay and watch the dog, so I will not be going.
Oh, so your grandparents are actually going specifically because of the eclipse?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
My plan is just to try to figure out a way to take pictures of it. I think I have to get some sort of special thing for my camera, etc., but that's going to be my thing with it. We are in Ohio here. We're in a really good spot for it, so we hope that it's not cloudy that day, and I'm going to try to take some pictures if I can. Mike?
I'll probably skywatch. I don't have any plans right now in terms of seeing it with anyone, but I guess I'll make a point to be outside, look up, see what's going on.
Yeah, I haven't looked into seeing like what the percentage of it will be like down here, or even down there for you, Mike. Like I don't know if it is still going to be very eclipsy or not, but who knows?
I know that the Midwest is in the best spot for it, from what I've heard.
Yeah.
I know when I was a kid, I think I was in kindergarten or first grade, we had one of these, and they were telling everyone, don't look directly at it, and it scared me to death. Because at first, I'm like 4 or 5 years old, I don't know what it is. All I'm hearing is that the sky is going to be so bad that you can't look at it. And I just wanted to stay in the house all day. I was so afraid of the damn thing. But anyway. All right, what's next?
If you didn't settle into your current career path, what kind of job would you be doing?
Wow. That's a tough one.
Probably photography.
Whoa, you a photographer, Mike? I didn't know that.
I did a lot of it in high school, a bit less of it in university. I was actually photo editor for my high school yearbook for my senior year, so that was fun. But I'm going to, I probably would have gone into that.
Honestly, my career path, this is going to sound silly, is my third choice. My first two choices were a little bit more ridiculous, being a rock star or a professional baseball player. So I don't know. I don't know what I would do, honestly. I get
astronaut wasn't in there.
No, believe it or not, no. I don't know what I would do because with what I do, I get to do a lot of different things. Like there's like when I first started, it wasn't as specialized as it is now, so you did a little bit of everything, but now you can break it down. You can be a video editor, you can be a photographer, you can be a videographer, you can be a this or that or the other thing. So probably something still in this field, but when I first started in it, we did everything, and it wasn't nearly as technologically advanced as it is now. So I would probably have to say that even if I had not gone into it the way I did, I'd still probably be doing something related to it because I just like all that stuff so much. Either that or I'd be a truck driver, just so I could travel and go around the country.
You and Buck would be traveling the highway.
Absolutely,
there.
Man. My dad was a truck driver. Buck's a truck driver. They're both cool guys, so why not?
See, I don't know. Like you, Greg. When I was a kid, I remember I found this old bookmark that I made in like first grade. It's like, what are your aspirations? And I wanted to be a professional hockey playing president.
Nice.
Yeah, I wanted to be playing hockey for the Ducks while being the president of the United States all at the same time.
And here I thought my goals were ridiculous. Okay.
Yeah.
Couldn't do any worse than.
Well. And then, I mean, when it comes to once I started to grow up, this is kind of my first choice. I mean,
right.
First choice would be, doing play-by-play for a sport. But I figure that sports media is all kind of in the same vein. It just kind of splinters off.
Exactly.
Because right now I do the sports writing thing. But aside from doing that sort of stuff, I'd probably just end up getting a regular kind of business degree and taking over the family business. We run a frozen food plant down in Laguna Beach, and they make meals for senior centers and some LA County jails, some stuff for Trader Joe too. And it's been my grandpa's business since he moved here in 1979. So I'd probably just be taking over that. But
see, I think with a question like that, and God, I hope this doesn't sound like it's going to be like condescending or anything. And if it does, I certainly don't mean it to. But I think in the case of the three of us, at least, because of what we do, and it's kind of like to me, there was no other option. I mean, this is what I was going to do. I never gave it a second thought that I wouldn't be able to do it.
I pretty much clued in that I was going to be doing what I was doing second year university when I figured when I forced myself to think about what could I possibly do with a history degree, and then teach was the first and last thing on that list.
I mean,
so
we might either be like we might be remarkably lucky idiots that just didn't have a backup plan. Or maybe it's just that, you've just got to decide what you're going to do and just go do it. And damn the circumstances, or you know what I mean? It's just do it. That's the best advice I can give, because you don't, I mean, I know a lot of people do, and I don't want to say you shouldn't plan, but, if you're at a point where you've got three options and, there's 1, 2, and 3, I don't know that you've necessarily got a plan at that point. I think you got to pick one and go for it. And that's what I did. And I think Zach did the same thing, and Mike too. So I don't know.
I just never made a backup plan, because I thought if I ever figure out and fully think out a backup plan, then I'm already kind of giving up.
Exactly. That's what I was trying to say.
I don't even want to have the thought in my mind, because this is what I'm going to do. And should I reach a point where it's like, all right, this doesn't work, then I see what else I can do at that point. But
no, that's what I was trying to say, and I didn't put it quite as eloquently as that, but that, I didn't have a backup plan either, because it was just, I was determined this was what I was going to do, and like you said, had I made a backup plan, then that was kind of like already telling myself, this isn't going to happen. Like you, had it not worked out, I would have found something else, so I don't know that I had I don't have any idea what I'd be doing had it not worked out. Fortunately, it did. Yeah.
Next one here, these are all still from Cosmic. Do you have any phobias? I know I don't really. I mean, who isn't not afraid, but hates spiders or whatever, but I can't think of anything that I'm legitimately fearful of.
You want this, Mike? You want me to go first?
I'm still thinking. Nothing jumps to mind immediately.
I am petrified of birds. I really am. I'm not kidding. I'm not exaggerating. They scare me to death. I don't want them near me. I don't like them. And if I had to touch a bird, I don't know what I would do. When we used to live in the country, the cats would catch them and bring them in the house. And I'd have to call my girlfriend downstairs to get rid of them, because I couldn't go near them. It was just, I am petrified of birds. I don't like them at all. Scare me to death. And I couldn't tell you why. I just don't, except ducks. Ducks don't bother me a bit. Like mallard ducks, I think they're cool. Cute, no problem at all. But any other kind of bird, no.
I got something. I wouldn't say it's a phobia, but it kind of fits because it's kind of a psychological thing. I do have a fair bit of social anxiety that I've had to work hard to get over. So
really?
There's that. Yes.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yes.
So when you say social anxiety, are you talking like talking to us, or are you talking out in the world of people?
More like large groups.
Yeah.
Of people. So something like more like that. I get anxious.
Being a school teacher.
It's one of the reasons I had to get over it very quickly.
That's kind of more of a controlled circumstance, though, where you're not just in the middle of a crowd.
That's also a thing where it's like, well, there's structure. I have a role, they have a role, and everything kind of works out. It more manifests itself, I guess, in terms of like at a party, for example, if there's large group of people, even if I know most of them, I kind of get anxious, and that's something that I've been working on for a while, and I like to think I've gotten it to a very manageable point. But
I'm not good with big crowds, like at a concert or something. I mean, I'm okay, like at a concert or at a game or something, as long as there are clear exits that I can see. You know what I mean? Like rows and places where I go, okay, I can get out this way or that way. But if I'm just in the middle of a big giant crowd with no clear way of seeing my way out of it, that makes me very, very, very uncomfortable. Like I couldn't be in like a mosh pit at a show. That would just not work for me at all. I have to be able to plot my way out should anything happen, if that makes any sense. So I have that one too.
To me, like it also manifests in that I absolutely hate going to clubs. Like I hate it. I just hate it entirely. And concerts, I tend to really only like going to, kind of small, more intimate concerts. Like anything that's too big, I just rather not be a part of.
Yeah, I understand that. Like I said, with me at a concert, it has to be with seating. I couldn't do festival seating where everybody just goes wherever they want. It has to be seating. There has to be good security and all that. And I just get really, really uncomfortable, like I said, if I can't see a way out of wherever I'm at. And that's a weird thing. But maybe a lot of people have that. I don't know. But you don't have any, huh, Zach?
No, I mean, I was afraid of public speaking for a long time, too, when I was in school. But eventually I got to a point, especially trying to do what I do now, where it's like I have to talk to people.
Yeah.
And, you just have to, through practice, you just kind of get over it because you have to. And, I don't have that sort of problem anymore. I go up, I talk to anybody.
How did you feel the first time you had to go on the air?
Well, that was just kind of a nervous energy, you know, like, okay,
I remember
do this. And I almost am more comfortable, even though, like, if I can think about like, oh, people are going to listen to me, I'm still sitting in a room usually, or if I'm like broadcasting a game, I'm watching the game and I'm talking about the game, and that's what I would do if I was sitting there watching it with somebody else. So I don't know. I try not to let that kind of stuff get to me.
I remember
like,
the first
thing I can think of that's maybe a fear is like tight spaces, a little claustrophobia.
Oh, I
don't like stuck.
I'm claustrophobic too. Now that, geez, I'm just a mess here. Now that we should probably move on to something else before I have to get therapy or something. I don't like. I'm a little bit claustrophobic, and I don't like heights. Depending on the circumstances, like a ride at an amusement park doesn't bother me that much. I'm not crazy about it, but that kind of thing. But I was going to go back to the first time I did play-by-play. I remember, because it was high school, and it was, I believe it was basketball, and you're right in the middle of the stands. You got a little table set up, and there's like people right around you and stuff, and I'm going, I've never done this, like this before.
Yeah.
And it was just, when I heard it in my ear, okay, go, it's like I had no choice. You just had to go. But that made me pretty uncomfortable, too. All right, ready to move on?
And see, but that's the other thing why I'm comfortable with broadcasting is when somebody says go, and it's like, okay, you got to go.
That's it.
Stuff.
Yep.
You can't have dead air, so there you go.
It's like labor. You can worry about it. You can be nervous. You can do whatever you want to do. But when they say go, you're going no matter what. So you might as well just sit back and try to enjoy it.
Now, I don't know why the next question was split up.
Yeah, I don't get that either.
But it was for whatever reason. So I guess first.
Maybe they're wondering if you and I together at a movie ever walked out.
I don't think so. Greg, have you or I ever walked out on a movie in a theater? I can't say I have. Even if it's a bad movie, I usually sit through the end and just to like just to see it out.
I have done it twice, and it's happened. It's so seldom that I remember the 2 times it happened. So I've done it twice. How about you, Mike?
Well, there is one time where the only time I can remember where I almost got up and left was Batman vs Superman.
Yeah, you remember. See, we were talking about we never remember the shows, but I remember you telling us about that during one of the shows.
The instant that Superman dies, spoiler if you care to see that garbage. The instant Superman died, I threw my hands down onto the armrest and like kind of gave some force as like I was going to push myself up and stand up and be like, nope, I am done with this shit. But that's as close as I got. Mike, you said you walked out once?
Once. Semi-pro. Will Ferrell.
Really?
Yep.
I thought that was I was able to sit through that. That was fine.
I don't know what it was. Maybe I had maybe it was a case of like just at the time I had Will Ferrell burnout and I just like, I don't know, but I just remember feeling like, this just feels tired. I would rather just go home. And yeah.
Me, it was the movie Magnolia. You guys familiar with that one? It's what's his name? Wes Anderson, the guy that did like Boogie Nights. He's some supposed like great director or some shit. I don't know. And this movie seemed like it was just dragging on like forever. And finally, I just said, you know what? I haven't enjoyed a minute of this so far. I don't see it going anywhere, and I got up and I left. And to this day, I don't know how that movie ends. And worse, I just don't care. I've never seen the end of it because it was just, to me, just such a slog through a bunch of bullshit, and I left. And then the other time was when I was in like 5th grade. One of my buddies talked me into going to the local theater to see something called That's Entertainment, which was nothing but clips from musicals. And I think musicals are about the dumbest thing ever. And about 30 minutes into it, I went, yeah, no, I'm out.
Hey, now I like myself a musical.
Yeah. Not me. Okay, that's fine, but it wasn't a musical. It was like just clips from a bunch of musicals. There was no relief. It was one song after another, and I said, I'm gone. And that's it. But that's the only 2 times I've ever done that I can remember. I thought Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom was so bad that I fell asleep during it, but I stayed for the whole thing.
I like that.
I slept through it, but I was there.
I like that. Some movies, but
yeah. Okay.
I like Temple of Doom.
Did you?
All haters.
Temple of Doom is okay. Temple of Doom is fine as long as you ignore the woman and
Kate Capshaw, right?
Right.
Yeah.
If that had still been Marion from the first movie, that would be fine.
That would have helped a great deal.
It couldn't be Marion though because it was a prequel. That's what a lot of people don't know. It actually takes place before.
Yeah, I know, but they still should have found a way to work Marion in because Kate Capshaw was not good.
And
but didn't Spielberg end up marrying her?
Yes.
And for whatever people say, I hate Short Round.
That's another thing. It was I don't know. I just I fell asleep.
Dr. Joan, like no, stop.
Well, there's no way that character could have worked today.
No.
Oh, God.
No.
But yeah, I fell asleep during that one.
Well, I say that, but then George Lucas put the Nemoidians into the Star Wars prequel, so maybe it would have worked just because George Lucas doesn't understand what's acceptable in movies these days.
They formed a blockade.
Oh, victory!
All right, let's pick it up here. We're like a half hour in and we're still on Cosmics questions here.
All right.
Let's move past racist aliens.
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
And then the last one for Cosmic. If you had to pick a reality or a game show to be on, which one would it be? Family Feud. Or no, I lie. Cash Cab. If I could be on Cash Cab,
ooh, good one.
That's my choice.
Me, it would be Sports Jeopardy, and then the 2 Zach brought up, Cash Cab, and Family Feud. Maybe just for kicks, Price is Right, because I'm pretty good at picking the prices.
I would probably say, I don't even know if this one's still around anymore. Do they still do Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
No, but that's another one I would be on too. I would like to be on that one.
That would be my choice because I want to say Jeopardy, but like I've always thought that if I was on Jeopardy, I'd get like just the worst draw of topics of like just all the crap that I know nothing about, and then I'm screwed. So
potent potables.
Yeah, exactly. And then I'm like, well, what the fuck am I even doing here? So.
I know. I love sitting at home. It's like I can clear one section. It's like, oh, see, I could be on Jeopardy, and then we'll go to like Darwinian literature. It's like, oh.
The most fun I have watching Jeopardy is the answers I get right because I logic them together. Where they'll say, I mean, it'd be a topic I know nothing about, but they'll name an era and a couple of things, and I'll go, okay, it's probably this, and this together, and bang, I'm right. I enjoy that. Now, could I do that under the heat of the studio lights, having to use the buzzer and all that? No way. But I do actually have a knack for answering questions I shouldn't know anything about because you kind of use detective work to piece them together.
Well, it's funny, like you say sports Jeopardy, Greg. I want to be on regular Jeopardy when there is a sports category because none of the nerds ever know anything.
Oh, I know.
So it's like players for the 1997 Yankees, and it's like Chuck Knobloch. Like,
my day has come, Trebek.
All right.
Who wants to pick it up?
I'll take a few here. This is from Burgundy. If Bass were a team of superheroes, what would your abilities be? What would be your superhero identities? And who would be your arch nemesis?
Our arch nemesis would be the More Like Radio group.
Right. If we were a team of superheroes, we would all have different abilities, right? I don't know what mine would be. I think maybe turning invisible, but you can't just make it so you can just do that. There has to be a catch so that it's not so easy. Like maybe I can only do it for 5 minutes at a time or something along those lines. I think it would be something to do with invisibility or the ability to transport myself wherever I needed to go for only a limited amount of time. Like say there was a robbery or something taking place in Wyoming. I could go there for 10 minutes, but that's it. Then I have to snap back. Something like that, I guess. I don't know. I'm not good with this stuff.
Neither am I. I just, I'd love to have Green Lantern's powers.
That'd be all right. I'd like to be the Flash.
Anything you want.
Flash would be fun.
I honestly have no idea. I guess Zach's is probably the best answer. Just if you have the Green Lantern's powers, then you can pretty much do anything.
Yeah, I saw that question when it popped up, and I thought this is going to be a fun one. Then I started thinking about it. I'm like, I really don't know.
Yeah, I mean, fly would be like the number one power they would want, right? To be able to, you don't have to drive, you don't have to go anywhere, you just fly.
I guess one that would be would be even more convenient than flying would be teleportation.
Yeah, like I said, and to make it realistic, I suppose, for lack of a better term, you can only do it for X amount of time because if you could just teleport wherever you wanted to all the time, well, then what's that? You've got to make it a little.
Ideally, if that weren't possible, and I don't know if this is cheating or not because it's not a superpower technically, but. Maybe something like Dr. Doom or Iron Man, where I don't have superpowers per se, but I just have a really cool suit that does a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
I mean that would be pretty neat.
Yeah, I'd like to have some sort of a jet or a plane or something that was really cool along those lines. Okay. From SF Giants 58, what's your favorite hot sauce? I'll lead off here. I don't like spicy stuff, so I don't have one.
I don't like spicy stuff either. I generally don't even put pepper on things if I can.
Sriracha sauce for me.
Okay. I thought this was a fun question. Now, we're going to lose some of the audience with this, but I thought we've got to leave this one in. If you had to pick a CCSLC member to fight alongside you in a tag team match, who would you select?
Oh, that's easy. This is easy.
Okay.
LMU, because he's 7 feet tall.
That was my pick, too. Exactly. Yep. But then I said, but there's another catch here. Another one you also I would pick. And wait till you hear the reasoning why I'd pick Headley. Because then I could do a heel turn and kick the shit out of him. What do you think of that?
Well, no, you're already a heel if you're teaming with Headley.
Yeah, but I could do some sort of... I do a face turn, right. And then I throw him out of the ring or something, yeah.
Zach?
I'm trying to think of because there's I'm trying to either think someone on the crazy side, or I thought maybe an intellectual person, but they'd be terrible in a tag team match.
Oh, yeah, Admiral would get his ass kicked in a
Yeah, my first choice was going to be Admiral, but then I thought, what are we going to do, debate our way out of this or what? Forget it.
Oh, no, you know what? It would have to be our old teammate, Andy.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, okay.
he could work the mic pretty well and get the crowd in our favor.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there you go. I just think it's funny. Mike and I both went with Dennis because he's 7 feet tall.
I wonder if anyone's ever asked him to play basketball before.
Oh, geez, probably like every day. I imagine, poor guy.
Oh no, I know.
I actually got that for 2 years because I like hit my growth spurt like earlier than most kids. So for like grades 4 and 5, I was like a good foot taller than everyone else, and everyone thought that I was going to be this like huge tall basketball player. But then it all kind of just evened out. But
yeah, I was a center up until 6th grade, and then other people were my height, and then I couldn't shoot threes. So it was like, okay, you're useless now. Get out of here. All right.
More from SF Giants 58. Do you guys have any guilty pleasure movies?
All of the Transformers films, I guess, qualify.
Yeah, I was going to say, listen to the stuff we watch. I think they're all guilty pleasures, really.
I would also add 2 movies that have become like the drunk movies that my friends and I watch. You know, when we just are too drunk to do anything but watch a movie. And that would be either Starship Troopers or Chud.
Chud?
Yeah. It's like a cheap horror movie from the 80s about like these mutants that live in the sewers of New York City called Chuds.
Okay.
Yeah, it's absolutely awful, but it's definitely a guilty pleasure.
I was going to say a couple movies I really, really like. One's called Fried Green Tomatoes. It's a total chick flick. But I'm not going to call it a guilty pleasure because it's just a great film. And you know what? I enjoy it, and screw you if you don't like it. But
yeah.
I think probably Armageddon, because it's just so bad, it's good, is like, I guess, a guilty pleasure. And I'm going to go Independence Day is not quite as bad, but there's certainly some holes in it. But I think Armageddon's my guilty pleasure. It's stupid, but I love it.
I can't put those blockbuster type movies as guilty pleasures just because it's like they're popular for what they are.
They're popular, and they might not be like good, but they are competent in what they set out to be.
Awesome. That's true.
I'm a rom-com guy. I'll go see a romantic comedy.
Oh, so you're big into that Sandra Bullock, Hugh Grant sort of thing?
Oh, Jesus, yeah.
Oh, those are great, man. I see. I don't see those as guilty pleasure movies either, though. You know.
I just remember getting dragged to Lowe's with like my mom because like when I'm a kid, if she'd be like, "Oh, do you want to see a movie?" and it's like, well, she's the one with the money, so she would usually pick it.
Honestly, most days I would probably go see a rom-com over a big blockbuster, just because you guys got to remember I've been doing the blockbuster thing since before you were born, so I'm kind of burnt out on the whole shit blowing up in front of me and everything.
Greg was there when Thomas Edison showed the video, showed the first movie player showing a train coming towards the screen.
Yeah, exactly.
He was one of the guys jumping out of the way.
Just remember, I was there when Star Wars became Star Wars. So I'm kind of over the whole blockbuster thing. Okay. I don't really know how to answer this next question. What are your favorite pieces of architecture? I do not have an answer for this.
I can't think of anything specific. Unlike George Costanza, I'm not an architecture buff, but I can say what my favorite, I guess, general style of architecture is, and that's Art Deco. I absolutely love Art Deco.
Would ballparks count? Would ballparks count? Like stadiums and arenas and that? I mean, that counts, right?
Yeah.
That would be mine then, I guess. Like, there's some beautiful minor league parks like Huntington Field and Toledo and, the one in Norfolk, Virginia, where the Tides play. Stuff like that. Some of the arenas, I think Nationwide Arena is really sharp. But I'm not, to me, it's like if it's got a roof and walls and it's functional, that's good enough.
Yeah, I like Art Deco stuff. I like
do too.
Stadiums just as much as anybody else. I like. I actually like Capitol buildings, even though most of them are kind of the same.
Yeah,
I like kind of seeing what's different about them, and in turn, because of kind of the way that they're styled, I love looking at old Roman stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it's like when you see something like the Colosseum, for example, and you're like, "Hey, we have Colosseums in today, like stadiums." And I just love seeing how they had things that we still have, but the way that they built them, like a bathhouse or the Coliseum or the Senate or any sort of that stuff, and it's like just comparing.
So I have to ask Zach. You said you like Capitol buildings. What's your take on Canada's Parliament buildings? I'm curious what an American has to say.
It looks like it was put there by our British imperial overlords.
Well,
I don't know. Like,
God save the Queen.
It was kind of underwhelming, to be perfectly honest. But I guess you could say that about the whole city of Ottawa.
It's technically beautiful,
right?
Technically.
Yeah,
I'll go back. I like really ultra modern looking stuff. So there's that too. I don't know what the term is for that, but like super modern.
Futurist?
Yeah, I guess that would be the word, right? Okay. We ready to move on?
Greg, when did you start riding motorcycles?
My first motorcycle I got when I was 11 years old, and I've been riding them on and off ever since.
Was it like a bicycle with a motor on it, basically?
No, it was an 80cc motorcycle built by a company called All Sport. It was orange and looked like a little miniature dirt bike, kind of. And that was my first one was a 5-horsepower mini bike. I don't know if you guys, I'm sure you're familiar with those. Basically a lawnmower engine on a little bike frame or like a... Anyway,
right.
That was my first like motorized two-wheeler. But my first actual motorcycle was when I was 11 years old. I've been riding ever since. Mike? As a teacher, do you have any funny stories about papers you've graded?
Two come to mind. The first one was actually a pretty competently written paper, except for one glaring flaw. The paper was about the RAF bombing runs against Nazi Germany during World War II. And again, most of the paper was pretty good. It was well written. It was well researched. Pretty solid stuff, except they kept referring to Sir Arthur Harris, who was the head of RAF Bomber Command, as an American.
Oh, that's a bit of a misstep.
Sir Arthur Harris of the British Royal Air Force as an American.
Yeah, a little bit of a stumble, huh?
Yeah, that's a curveball when you're grading a paper, because when everything else is pretty well put together. But this isn't just like if you get a date wrong by a year or two, I'm not really gonna be a stickler about that. But this is kind of a big detail, so that was an interesting one to kind of go through. Another one was just the worst paper that I've ever had to grade. It really wasn't even an essay; it was a book report. And the paper got the title of the book wrong, got the gender of the author wrong, and completely missed the entire point and stated that the book said one thing when it said the complete opposite.
Nice.
It was like, honestly, if you had left it to like the last minute and just did a quick Google search on the book and spewed whatever you saw together into something resembling a paper, you would have gotten a better grade. This, I to this day, I still don't know how this paper happened, because it's not just a lack of knowledge. It is a negative. It is negative knowledge. It was just complete shambles in every conceivable category.
Wow. Okay. Zach, what do you say to people who call Anaheim a suburb?
Technically speaking, that's correct. However, as I argued many a time, a lot of the time with Mike, when the Angels were going through their nonsense, it's with the way that the greater Los Angeles area is constructed, once you get out past a certain, like there's LA is the city center for the entire region. I will give you that. I can't, there's no way to deny that part. And then there are the other communities that make up LA, like your Santa Monica's, your Inglewoods, your stuff like that. And then you kind of branch out. But once you get to a certain distance, then it's not like, yes, some of these things are only here because LA was where it is. But once you get past a certain point, the LA influence kind of mixes in with Orange County has its own thing going on. We don't have a downtown per se, but it's all sprawl. Riverside is not really an LA suburb either. I wouldn't say that about San Bernardino either. And so In the literal dictionary definition, sure, fine. But when it comes to a cultural standpoint, Anaheim doesn't really have anything to do with LA other than we're close.
I've always thought of them as two separate cities myself. I don't know if that's correct or not, but that's what I've always. That is how I've always viewed it. Two separate cities completely.
Yeah, and especially now, like when all these things were founded, yeah, Anaheim was definitely a suburb. It was the farming community down in Orange County, and that's just where they happened to build Disneyland because there was land, and where the Angels moved because there's land. And then as time's kind of grown on, and there's 3 million people in Orange County, and Anaheim. It just happens to be where Disneyland is, where our teams were placed. They could have the city center is actually Santa Ana. That's where our courthouse buildings and stuff like that are. But if I had to give any city down this way the kind of anchor point, it would be Anaheim, and I would call some cities like Fullerton kind of a suburb of Anaheim. I would other cities like that I would call Anaheim or suburbs of Anaheim, and I wouldn't call Fullerton like Cal State Fullerton. That's not an LA suburb. It's just not. Long Beach, maybe, but I think even Long Beach is a little bit more independent. But Long Beach has more of a connection to LA than Anaheim does, I think, really. And that's why the Angels dropping the of Anaheim and calling themselves the LA Angels is stupid, and we all hate you, Artie Moreno.
Yeah, didn't they drop the of Anaheim part? Like they are just the LA Angels now, I think.
They officially dropped it last year.
Yeah.
Last year when they renegotiated the contract with the city. And because the city was like, well, we can't lose the Angels. They were going to give them whatever they wanted. And the Angels, of course, as they have forever, or Artie Moreno, as he has since he got the team, fought like hell to change it to of Anaheim, or get rid of the of Anaheim.
Yeah, they were officially
they won the World Series in 2002 as the Anaheim Angels. Then all of a sudden, 3 years later, the Anaheim part's not good enough. So, whatever.
Yep, they are officially the Los Angeles Angels now. No more of Anaheim. None of that stuff. Okay.
It's Angel Stadium is so far removed from being an LA thing. It's not even funny.
I think it seems ridiculous to me. It would be like calling, I don't know, like the Toledo Rockets, the Detroit Rockets. I mean, to me, in my mind, Los Angeles and Anaheim are that separate. I mean, granted, from Toledo to Detroit, you really never leave a city per se,
right?
But they're so clearly separate and distinct from each other. Anyway,
yeah, there's no physical boundary between any of this stuff, and it's all connected. Like you could, in theory, take side streets from Anaheim to Los Angeles easy.
Yeah.
Well, not easy. It would take you about 3 hours, but you know what I mean.
Right.
But yeah.
Let's see. What members do you want to have a beer with? Guys?
Nope.
None of you. Okay. No. I'll throw out two more here. This is a pretty easy one for me. I'll see where you guys come down on this. If you had to, this is from Stats Brett, by the way. If you had to replace an NFL stadium, a new NFL stadium with the old one, what team would it be? In other words, if you had to replace a current new NFL stadium with the old one, which one would you go with?
A new one with an old one.
Yeah.
I'm trying to go through the teams right now. I mean, I would say the Chargers, but we'll assume that we're not talking about just moving teams back.
Right. Like an example would be like Detroit and the Silver Dome versus Ford Field, kind of like that. Well, mine's easy. People are probably going to think I'm going to say Old Cleveland Stadium, but no, I would bring back the Orange Bowl in Miami. I think the Orange Bowl, when the Dolphins played there and when the Canes played there, that place really rocked, and they've just never been able to recapture that. So to me, it would be the Orange Bowl.
I'm thinking that sounds like a good one. I also kind of liked old Giants Stadium compared to the new one. Oh, easy, Dallas Cowboys Stadium.
Yeah, that's another good one too. That's another really good one.
I would go old Cowboy Stadium with the hole in the roof every single time over the spaceship that they got going on over there now.
Soldier Field.
That's a good one too.
Yeah,
that's another good one. Yeah, Soldier Field, definitely. Oh my God, did they mess that place up?
It actually got taken off the historic landmark list.
Can you blame them? That place was another one, though. Like the Orange Bowl, Soldier Field, Three River Stadium, where you just had such an incredible home field advantage. It's just kind of vanished now. Maybe not so much in Pittsburgh, but definitely in Miami, and I say Chicago, too. Okay, where were we? Oh, and another one from Stats Brett here. If you could own any sports team, who would you own? And it can be in multiple leagues.
I want to say the Maple Leafs, but I guess, like, the first thing to come to mind would actually be the Blue Jays. Like, I know he's not limiting us to just one.
Yeah.
But like, off the top of my head, I'd want to own the Toronto Blue Jays.
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't we all say our favorite teams, pretty much?
I don't want to be responsible for the Cleveland Browns. Sorry. Actually, I already own a team. So I have to abstain here. I already own a team. I own the Green Bay Packers. So it's not as great as you think it would be.
I'd love to own the Ducks just because they've been my favorite team as a kid. I'd love to own the Angels if just because that means that Artie Moreno's not owning the damn thing anymore.
And you would change it back to Anaheim?
I had such high hopes for him too coming in. I really did.
Yeah, well, it's not even the LA and Anaheim stuff. He's too involved. And
it's the Jerry Jones. It's the Jerry Jones situation.
Sometimes, I mean, he's the reason that we're still paying Josh Hamilton.
Yeah, I was just going to say he's thrown a lot of money around on some really bad contracts.
Gary Matthews Jr., Josh Hamilton, all the pitchers that we haven't signed over the years.
Yeah, and you kind of failed to build a team around Mike Trout, but that's because you've got all this money.
Which seems to be impossible. How could you get the best player of all time and not try to build around that kind
of because you're still paying Josh Hamilton and all these other guys. That's part of it.
I mean, the Texas Rangers did it with A-Rod for a while, so I guess it's not unheard of, but
honestly, if I could own a team, I think I'd pick either like a minor league team just because I think it would be easier, or probably I wouldn't want to be an NFL owner. I know that. I'm not so sure I'd want to be a baseball owner. I think I'd probably either go with hockey or the NBA. I don't know that I want to have anything to do with the other two. Maybe a NASCAR team. That might be kind of fun. But,
another thing I would I'd maybe own the Leafs, if only because I would then spend all my time as, like, the owner of the Leafs just constantly degrading Gary Bettman at every opportunity.
Oh, yeah. I just thought about that, too. Like, if I could be the NHL owner, I would just make, because he works for me, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I would. At first, my thought was, well, I'd fire Gary Bettman. And I thought about it for a second. Like, no. That wouldn't accomplish my goal. I would have to just torture.
Yeah.
Call him every single day and just give him some sort of complaint.
No, I'd be the guy, like, if I own the Leafs, like, when they had the big owners meetings, like, okay, so we're going to expand to Las Vegas. I'd be like, Gary, that's a fucking stupid idea.
Yeah.
Bring back the Nordiques, you dumb idiot. But the Illich family doesn't want us to move them back to the West. Fuck him, he's dead.
Okay, from Habs Fan 1. For how much longer could The Walking Dead continue going strong like they are now before it becomes stale to the point where they need to wrap it up?
I'm not someone that watches The Walking Dead, but from what I understand, hasn't it already done that?
I would say it's about 5 seasons past that point.
I was about to say that because I used to watch it religiously, and I stopped watching 5 years ago out of boredom. So.
Yeah, there's only so many ways you can do what they've done, where it just becomes ridiculous now. We've seen them put, and I'm pretty much sure they've been put in every conceivable philosophical dilemma. Mm-hmm. And I don't know where you go at this point, but really, I think now it's just people just like watching zombies get, shot and had their heads chopped off and stuff. I don't know what the point of the show is anymore. And I think it could have gone away 5 years ago, and we would have not been worse off for it.
Yeah, we passed that line a long time ago.
Right, I agree. Have you ever had poutine? I think I'm pronouncing that correct, right?
Yes, and fuck yeah, I've had poutine.
What is that again? That's a Canadian thing, right?
Yeah, it's French fries with, like, gravy and cheese curds.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've had French fries with gravy. I don't know if I've had the cheese curds, but I've had the gravy. It's good.
The best poutine I've had is from a chain called Smokey's Poutine. They do a lot of, like, you can get a bunch of different combinations, like different kinds of poutine, different toppings, that kind of thing. But they do it pretty well.
Yeah, I've had poutine as a Canadiophile. I've had poutine.
I'm not sure if I have or not. I know I've had French fries with gravy in upstate New York, but I don't know if it was the full.
You need the cheese curds for it to be poutine.
Okay, and you need the things to be applied correctly so that the cheese curds have melted into the gravy and it's not just cheese chunks.
It also helps. This isn't a requirement, but it helps if the fries are like thick.
Oh yeah.
Like McDonald's in Canada tried to make poutine, and because their fries are just kind of thin, it was a mushy, gross disaster.
Yeah, you've got to. I mean, even with just gravy on fries, you've got to have the good thick, like steak cut fries is what they call them around here. I don't know what they're called elsewhere, but yeah, you got to have that. And finally, from Habs Fan 1, will Vegas one day become a renowned hockey town?
No. Next question.
No.
They might end up. They actually might end up as the Quebec Nordiques before all this is said and done.
Even if they end up being a success, like that they end up working to the utmost of their potential, which probably just isn't as high as other places, it won't be renowned. It'll be like, oh yeah.
Their chances for success were not great, and I think the Raiders moving is just going to like crater them.
From Don't Care, if you were to get a new tattoo, what would you get, and where, and why?
Don't care for tattoos. Just kidding. The only thing I've ever considered, I don't have any. I would get like my family coat of arms on like a back left shoulder or something, but that's the most I've ever thought into putting a tattoo, or the most thought I've ever put into getting a tattoo.
I'm kind of the same way with it. If I were going to get one, and I do not plan on it, it would be something baseball related because I played and I like baseball. And it would be on one of my shoulders, like one of my arms, and like either the right or left arm up on the, by the shoulder.
It's never really been something I've considered. I've never really been a tattoo person. The only thing I've ever considered, and it was half joke, well, not even half, it was like almost completely joking, was you can get if you are a particularly religious Jewish person who wants to uphold kosher laws, on the back of food boxes, if it's kosher, there will be a little stamp.
Right.
And it's just it's usually a little K inside a circle.
Yeah, I've seen kosher. It. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I joked that if I ever got a tattoo, I'd get that on my ass. But outside of that, no, nothing.
Okay. From our friend Wild Wing 64. Pineapple on pizza, yay or nay?
This is Canada's worst export, Mike, so you take blame for this.
I apologize for this. I've written the Canadian government. I expect they will issue a formal apology, but this is a big nay.
I love that the Hawaiian pizza was created by Canadians.
Oh, yeah.
Ton of sense.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know on the pineapple on the pizza, no.
It can get wet and squishy, and the sugar is just I don't know. It just doesn't.
They are just two tastes that do not go together.
Yeah.
To me, you just don't do it. Period.
And it depends on the sauce too. Like there could be a sauce combination that it balances well with, but most pizza sauces, I would say no.
Have you guys ever had peanut butter and jelly pizza?
No,
and I don't care to.
Oh, I would have thought the same thing, but believe me, it's really, really good. Again, from Wild Wing 64, speaking of Las Vegas, if you owned the Las Vegas NHL franchise instead of Foley, what would you have named the team?
Las Vegas Aces.
Embrace the ace.
I'm embracing the ace. I'm with Zach. Or the Gamblers.
Yeah. I would have. I really like the name Knights. So I honestly, if I owned the team, they would be the Las Vegas Knights, not Vegas Golden Knights or Black Knight, just Las Vegas Knights.
I've already seen a shirt being made of Vegas Drunken Knights.
Oh God!
So
I'm embracing the ace, or I'm going with the Gamblers. I mean, why run from what you are? That's the way I look at it.
the only thing I think gamblers a little too on the nose, like gambles, but like aces could be a whole. You could kind of branch that off into a whole different.
Yeah, I thought the guy that did the thing on the boards did a pretty solid job with the aces identity. Actually,
I would go if I were Las Vegas Knights, or if I had to, specify a type of night, I'd lean fully into the Las Vegas Neon Knights. I think I think you could do a lot of fun stuff with that.
I remember that one. That was halfway decent. Yeah, I like that. I'll take one more here, and then we'll hand it off to you, Mike. From DNA Sports, travel back in time. Would you have moved the New York Giants baseball version to Minnesota like originally planned?
It's hard to say because I think it actually has worked out in San Francisco, and we probably wouldn't have gotten the Dodgers in L.A. if they had only gone to Minnesota, because wasn't the condition of the Dodgers going to L.A. that they brought another team to California with them?
Sounds right.
And so, I think, you just look at all the teams in California right now. Baseball in California has been hugely successful. It's as if I travel back in time, meaning that I have the knowledge of the present that I have now.
I don't know.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't, because I think getting the Dodgers and as a consequence the Giants into California was good for the sport of baseball. So yeah. I would say no. I'd move them to San Fran.
I would like to think that going back in time and not knowing what I know now, but I would like to think I would have had the foresight to look at California and think that's a much better market than Minnesota, and I would have moved them to California as well.
Yeah. But I mean, on the other hand, it's not like the Twins have been bad, and they were a moved team.
Yeah,
from the original. Were they? They were the first Senators, right?
First Senators, yeah, and the Rangers are the second Senators.
Right.
Yeah.
I can't take the knowledge of today out of my head, and I just think having the two teams as a pair out in California just made so much sense.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it wasn't the Giants, it was somebody else. Somebody needed to go with the Dodgers. And it made just a ton of business sense to do it.
And the Twins were only, I want to say, maybe 5 years behind those guys moving out there.
Right. Well, yeah. And then you have to start thinking about it. Like, okay, say the Giants moved to Minnesota like originally planned. Then the Dodgers don't bring the Giants with them, or the Dodgers just don't move. So either they stay in Brooklyn or they take another team with them. And then what does happen to those original Senators? Where do they move if Minnesota's filled up?
Right.
It sets off this weird chain reaction that I don't.
Yeah, someone was going to go to Los Angeles and San Francisco. It just turned out to be the Dodgers and Giants, and I think because New York had three teams, that made it easier, I suppose. But yeah, I would have not done anything differently, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
And hypothetically, if the Giants are in Minnesota, that means that maybe the Dodgers don't leave Brooklyn, which means we probably don't get the Mets because New York still has an NL team, and it's a huge huge butterfly effect that you can't really account for.
Yeah. I think it worked out perfectly the way it happened.
But I think having the New York Giants in Minnesota, making them the Minnesota Giants, and you could play up like a Paul Bunyan type logo somewhere along the line. That'd be a pretty neat identity, I think.
Sure.
If you want to play that out.
And finally, from DNA Sports, do you think there should be more than 9 teams in the Canadian Football League?
Yes, there should be 10.
I think 10. I'm more the merrier is the way I look at it, and I know that it's tough to say this with the mighty NFL, but I would love to see a couple American cities take another crack at it.
We tried that. We tried that, Greg.
I know.
Yeah, but you can't do like San Antonio and Baltimore.
No,
I think you need
Baltimore was actually the one success story.
Well, yeah, that's circumstances, but I think like if you put a CFL team in Buffalo,
right?
If you CFL team in Seattle,
Rochester, Syracuse, somewhere up in there, Minnesota, I think it'd be okay. Yeah,
I'll stick to the border areas first. Don't like make the huge jump. Las Vegas, probably not a great idea, considering that they can't find somebody to sing the national anthem. Oh no,
that is a great video.
I just thought about that. We're gonna have the Vegas Golden Knights.
Oh, no. They better get the same guy.
The opening night anthem singer.
I would love to see more CFL teams because I like the CFL.
I would balance out the conferences. I'd go 10, and I'd put the extra team in the East in either Quebec City or Halifax.
Would Quebec? Do you think Quebec would take to a football team?
Quebec, the Quebecois have actually really taken to football. The Alouettes do very well, and college football in Canada, Canadian rules, is actually very popular in Quebec. The University of Laval actually has a powerhouse team within the ranks of Canadian college football.
How about that?
So I do think that a team in Quebec would do well. It's just a matter of getting us. And
can I just say how smart do I look picking the Red Blacks as my CFL team now?
Yeah, but they won the Grey Cup with a Twitter hashtag on their pants. So that
I don't care. They won it. Hey man, that ring still counts. That's what I'm just saying.
Halifax, I think, could be good. They always have exhibitions in Halifax that draw well, and if you kind of look at a map of Canada and a map of the CFL, the Maritimes is the only region of the country not represented.
Right, because that's what I was thinking in terms of just adding one more team. There's only two like major-ish Canadian cities that I could think of that don't have one. That's Quebec and Halifax.
Yeah, Halifax would be cool just to give the Maritimes representation because you've already got Ontario, you've got Quebec, you got the Capital Region, you got the Western Prairies, you got the West Coast, and the Northern Territories don't have a team, but come on.
I'm just saying too. How about for a great identity, the Halifax Machines, kind of like the Nippon Ham Fighters. Get it? Halifax Machines. Come on, that's working. I'm telling you.
They actually had a planned expansion team called the Atlantic Schooners that was going to play in Halifax.
I want the Halifax Machines.
There's even a logo. Like if you search for it, their logo is still floating around on the net, but it fell apart at the last moment. But I just bump it up to 10, put the team either in Quebec City or Halifax, and see how it does. Basically, say either Quebec City or Halifax, we want to put a team in one of your cities and then just see who comes up with the money to build a stadium.
Halifax Machines, make it happen, CFL. Let's go.
Yeah, but it's 20. Who even has a fax machine anymore?
Doesn't matter.
Man?
What the fuck's a Red Black? Nobody even knows, but it works. Come on.
Quote unquote works.
Hey, CFL champions, just saying. Mike, pick it up with LMU here.
All right. Will it ever be possible for a team to have a universally praised uniform unveiling, or will the CCSLC always have the worst uniform ever hyperbole baggage show up?
No, it's not possible. No, I'm trying to think back. Probably the most universally praised change we've ever seen, I have to say, would probably be the Blue Jays, right?
And even then, there were like one or two people who just wanted to be contrarian and be like, I liked the gray and black. And it's like, oh, shut the fuck up.
I honestly believe you could put together the perfect sports identity, and there would still be people that would be against it because there's always going to, and again, no offense, lights out, but you're one of those guys that it could be perfect. There's always going to be a guy like you that doesn't like it. It's just as simple as that.
There's always going to be a guy who thinks the Arizona Diamondbacks turn ahead the clock uniform is baseball perfection. And that's like, I remember, thinking back, this wasn't as universally praised as the Blue Jays, but when the Winnipeg Jets unveiled their look, I remember it was actually kind of weird how it broke down. If you go back to that thread, a lot of the people who had been on the board for a while were like, it's nothing special, but it's solid. It's pretty good. I approve. But then you would have who were the younger members at the time being like, worst uniform ever. And it just came down to the fact that they just wanted to be hyperbolic and they didn't think it was too great. So it immediately must have been the worst. It's a combination of the internet kind of exacerbating the gut reactions of youth, the fact that there's always going to be a contrarian. There's a lot of different reasons, but there's never going to be a universally praised uniform.
Yeah, if it didn't happen with those Blue Jays uniforms, it's never going to happen. Simple as that. I can't think of a thing wrong with those uniforms. Nothing. Not a thing.
And the other part is, even if something is like, even if there's something that's not perfect, like say it's a middle of the road thing, like, yeah, okay, that looks fine. There's going to be somebody that says it's off, like kind of like the Winnipeg one, Mike, where it's like, oh, it's fine. Somebody's going to think okay is the worst thing ever. And something that's great, it's like, well, it's not perfect, it's, so whatever.
Or by the same token, you get something that's not so great that they're going to just praise it all to high heaven. This is the greatest thing, like the Bucks uniforms of the Jags. There's always going to be that person that's like, oh, these are fantastic. These, perfect modern look, blah, 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 bullshit and all that.
I remember when the Buffa Slug came out and everyone was rightfully shitting on it. And I was one of the people shitting on it because it was objectively terrible. And a Buffalo fan said to me, because I think I had a Leafs avatar at the time, and he's like, well, at least unlike the Maple Leafs, the Sabres will look like they're a team playing in this century. This look is the future of hockey.
Yeah, Barney Rubble's wig.
We saw how the backlash was so bad they had to use a throwback as an alternate year one just to stymie the hate.
Right.
Which, by the way, we don't want to break too far off this, but did you see the rumor about the Devils?
No.
Oh yeah.
No, what's the rumor?
They're so bad. The reaction has been so bad that there's some sort of internal memo possibly going around that if the sales are okay, then they'll keep the uniforms and they won't worry about it till later. But if the uniforms aren't selling at all, then they might use like last year's jerseys or something.
Wow. That would be
There's also an internal memo floating around saying that all team employees on social media are not to engage people talking shit about it.
I'm trying to think in the history. Okay, I know that the 49ers had that new look that came out and never got off the drawing board because the
49ers went away.
The Browns in '84, that uniform was trashed right away. They said,
the Islanders fishermen lasted 1 year because of the backlash.
Before
they did that, 1 year.
Yeah, it was really weird because it was that 1 year, and then for like the next season, they still had the fisherman template, but they put the old logo on the front.
Oh, I remember those. Yeah.
And the Islanders were a really weird case, and the Sabres, I actually think, ditched the Buffa Slug as soon as they were actually able to, given modern NHL uniforms. And I remember that the Sabres, the backlash was so bad that they had to hastily throw together an alternate, which was basically their throwback, just so they could make things better.
And the other interesting thing on that memo, I guess, is that the NHL kind of looks at the Devils and their fan base as an original 7 team.
Oh, fuck off!
Original
it's
7.
The way that they handle themselves, and that they, will add 1 to the original 6.
Right, I get
they
that.
view themselves like a more traditional-minded, history-based type team. That
I almost agree with that.
Yeah, well, it's kind of that way. I mean, I would their jerseys pretty much ever, and
I would have agreed with that up until the point where they changed their jerseys to the Canadian Tire knockoff version.
Well, to be fair though, Mike, I mean the Maple Leafs did the same thing in the Edge jerseys. They got rid of the hemstring.
Yeah, but at that point in time, like half the league did it because nobody really knew what these were going to be. And they did change it. Whereas the Devils were the only team that did this time around because they thought it was a good idea.
Yeah.
And the thing about the Devils jerseys is, I think if you did not have the old one to compare it to, it wouldn't be that terrible. Now, granted, it's not great, but it's not Buffa Slug territory or anything here. Come on. But I'm surprised. I mean, I knew people weren't going to be crazy about it, but wow.
Just remember, # not a fashion company.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay. Next question.
Better show, Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul?
Do you guys watch Better Call Saul?
I haven't seen enough of it, but here's my thing with kind of comparing those two. From what I do know about Better Call Saul and just kind of its overall concept, it will never be a better show than Breaking Bad because you need Breaking Bad for that show to work.
That's true.
I'm going to say Breaking Bad just because, looking back on it, Breaking Bad was in retrospect almost perfect from start to finish.
Yep.
I'm going to be against the grain here. I can't say which one is better because obviously it's all opinion. But I enjoy Better Call Saul more than I enjoyed Breaking Bad. I like the slow burn of it. I like the intense character study of it. But like Zach said, and it's something I had not thought of, this show, if you put this show out without Breaking Bad, I don't know that it would be any good at all. So you almost have to
I don't know if anybody would watch it.
Right, you've almost got to give Breaking Bad the nod, because without it, Better Call Saul, even if it existed, would make no sense. Why would you watch it? So tough. I enjoy Better Call Saul more, but I think probably you got to say Breaking Bad's the better show. And Breaking Bad was fan. I mean, really, you can't go wrong with either one. But yeah, I think Zach put it best. Without Breaking Bad, there is no Better Call Saul. Okay.
Last one from LMU. What would it take to have a glorious tournament victory NIT bracket this year featuring only CCSLC band members?
Put together the bracket. We'll do it.
I think
he's a mod, so if he's okay with it, I'm fine with it.
I think we all know Tank, on the strength of his meltdown, would just cruise to victory in that.
Yeah, that's true. We'd have to just name it the Tank tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And he's exempt from it.
Yeah,
it would have to be what would his region be called? Like their incompetent region, or they're
the Frankie Midnight Memorial region,
the National Incompetent Tournament.
I am claiming that for my region next year, the Frankie Midnight Memorial region. We are finally going to change away from the Browns.
What it means to be a Cleveland Brown.
What it means to be a Cleveland Brown is incompetence. So there you go.
Right, all works out in the end. Okay.
From Monkey Power, he wants to know what your favorite fictional team identity / logo is, and I'm going to go right off the bat. I love the Washington Sentinels look from the Replacements.
Zach,
I'd be cheating if I said the Mighty Ducks, wouldn't I?
Not really.
Didn't they debut in the movie before the NHL team?
No, the jerseys that they use in D2 were worn. D2 came out after the team started. So
okay.
Technically, no. And really, the jerseys that they wore in the first movie are kind of bad.
I want them to wear those at an NHL game just once.
Michael Eisner wore it at the press conference when they announced the team, so that's about as close as you're going to get. What is mine? I'm trying to
I'll go while you're thinking, Zach. There aren't any that I'm a real big fan of. My favorite one, by far and away, easily, is the Charleston Chiefs from Slapshot.
Yeah,
it's just a nice old school look. But really, I mean, the Sentinels, that's an okay look, and the Replacements. I thought those horrible Miami Sharks uniforms in Any Given Sunday were bad. The New York Knights from The Natural aren't bad.
Yeah,
those are nice. Those are good.
But yeah, for the most part, I can't think of any that I like that well, except the Charlestown Chiefs. I love that look. I think it looks great.
I've got two follow-ups that are actually both Mighty Duck related, since Zach reminded me of them. From D3, I forget what the other team was, but it's that prep school, the sort of Chicago Blackhawks-y look.
Eden Hall.
Okay, them. I really liked their uniforms. They were pretty sharp. And then another Mighty Ducks bad guy uniform, Team Iceland, just because it's Team Iceland.
Team Iceland is pretty good. I'm pulling up now that we the Mighty Ducks thing kind of reminded me. These are the best jerseys of any fictional team in.
Let's see.
Hold on.
I'm still not over the fact that it was like
Trinidad and Tobago national hockey team.
Oh God.
I should go with the uniforms from the old ill-fated, really bad, starring O.J. Simpson HBO show called First and 10. It was basically they were the LA Express uniforms from the USFL.
I mean, come on, how is that not awesome? It's like I just love them because of the gall to make your evil foreigners Iceland.
Well, yeah. The thing about that too is that jersey is basically the bad guy jersey from the first movie.
It is, isn't it?
Also black and blue. The Hawks.
God,
I'm trying to think. I really can't come up with one that I guess if I had to pick a second, probably be the Sentinels, I suppose, for the Replacements. I'm going to look up really quick here.
I don't know why. I just always liked those. The Eden Hall Warriors from D3.
Yeah, Eden Hall. And the best part was when the JV team, the Mighty Ducks, won. They then unveiled a red and yellow Mighty Ducks logo.
Yeah.
Oh, what was that horrible show on ESPN?
Playmakers?
Playmakers. Good color scheme, but that was about it. Okay.
The
thing is with most of these is that they're always generally they're always bland,
Right.
It'll just be like team name with thing, with numbers under it. So it's not like great. Like I'm scrolling through a list here and it's like the ones from the Waterboy were bad. They were
but weren't they supposed to be bad because they were like backwards?
Oh, come on.
Scrappy.
Okay, how about the Flint Tropics? I mean, those were kind of cool.
I walked out on that movie. I can't then say I liked it. Like,
how about the Milwaukee Bears from basketball?
I've never seen that movie, actually.
How have we not brought up the Dillon Panthers from Friday Night Lights?
Oh, of course. Classics.
Not a good uniform,
Squad
though.
from Space Jam.
Anyway, okay. We could really go down this rabbit hole for a while. Let's move along here.
Okay. What former football player would you most like to see pull a Tebow and play minor league baseball?
None. I can't think of anybody really that plays baseball that I know of.
I want to see Tom Brady do it, and then I want to see him become the greatest baseball player of all time, just to really
that would really piss people off, wouldn't it?
Yeah, piss some people off. Just to see him, like after he retires, he joins a baseball team, makes it to the majors, and then becomes the new home run king.
Boy, what am I saying? I know who I want to see. I don't know who's the biggest, fattest offensive tackle in the NFL.
How about like Vince Wilfork?
Yeah, I want Vince Wilfork. That's my guy. I want him to play minor league baseball.
I want J.J. Watt to go up and just kill baseballs.
Right.
Just destroy them.
Yeah, I want Vince Wilfork to be like a shortstop in the minor leagues, I guess.
If 5 Kurt Rambuses with LeBron,
I like
Rambi played 5 Kurt Rambuses with Michael Jordan's brain, which team would win?
Wow. We're talking
Jordan. I'm saying Jordan. 6 rings. That's the only thing I need. 6 rings. Yeah.
I would think LeBron, from a team concept, would probably play better with himself.
Right.
Than MJ would.
That's my thinking, but I guess it just depends on what you have more faith in, the team concept or just the burning competitive fire that no one's ever had like MJ had, because that's the difference between the two, I think.
Well, and I'm trying to think. Michael Jordan's brain with Kurt Rambis's body, Michael Jordan's brain would want to do certain things that maybe Kurt Rambis's body couldn't.
Yeah.
But maybe Kurt Rambis's body could do more things that LeBron's brain would want to do.
I'm gonna go with from a team standpoint, probably LeBron, because they would just play better together. But I mean, the Rambi wouldn't know who to pass to if they all had MJ's brain. They'd all try to. It'd just be like one guy hogging the ball, fighting with the other 4. Okay.
All right, I'm going to cut through some stuff that's a bit too inside baseball, and so I'm going to start with this one for Kit Smith 95. What is your favorite cartoon theme song?
Wow.
DuckTales. DuckTales, Darkwing Duck, or Batman the Animated Series.
Speed Racer.
That's good. Pretty good.
I am going to probably say the Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon song.
Yeah.
That thing, even if you haven't heard it in years, look it up on YouTube and you'll be humming that all day.
Yeah, that's an earworm. That's right up there with DuckTales in terms of earworminess.
Oh, yeah. What is the one thing you hate the most about fans of your respective teams?
Oh, God.
As a Maple Leafs fan, I want to punch anyone who says they just need to sign more good old Ontario boys, because I'll take a team of Slovakians that can't speak English if they can win a Stanley Cup.
I hate kind of the lackadaisical nature of some Southern California fans for pretty much everything. Especially with the Ducks, it's like, you know, you just kind of let people into the building and you don't really try to fight back. You just kind of sit there. And the other thing with Ducks fans that, I mean, really, this only gets, I only see this for the most part when it's in Facebook fan groups and garbage like that. But there are just some people that just don't understand how things work. They're just like, hey, why don't we do this? It's like, nope, that's not how that works. Well, they're dumb. Well, the Kings suck because this and this. Like, nope, that's not their fault either. You know, as much as I want to hate the Kings, it's like that's not how that works. That's just not how any of this works.
I'm going to go with Zach on that. With Cleveland fans, at least, that exactly that. The idea that it's so easy just to do this or the other thing, and you want to grab them and go, that is not how this works. It's not that simple. But I'm with you on that. That's the thing I hate the most too.
Related to that, it's always annoying whenever you're talking with someone and you're talking about like potential trades. That one guy who thinks that they can trade your fourth line center for Sidney Crosby.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, just no, shut up.
And it's like, I'm not trying to bash on people that are casual fans or whatever, but it's like, sometimes I do feel bad where it's like you're just sitting there and somebody's like, oh, you know, you're a Ducks fan. It's like, oh yeah, me too. Yeah, this, and people just be like, oh, yeah, I don't know. Oh, is that how that? No, but I thought we got him from the no. Just learn about your team. If you're going to be a fan of the team, learn about the team. You want to talk to people about the team, learn about the team. Don't just make shit up. don't just live your own narrative. Learn how these things work. Learn the history of the team in some way. Just, be competent. People.
Yeah, I'm going to add in with the Browns the one thing that just drives me nuts. Everybody has it in their head, and they've had it in their head for 15 quarterbacks now. If we could just get Johnny Manziel, if we could just get Mitch Trubisky, if we could just name the guy that was the top quarterback in the draft, that would solve all of our problems. And football doesn't work that way. You could put Tom Brady behind that Browns offensive line, and he's going to be terrible. You don't understand. You've got to build the team first. That drives me nuts. Oh, we get Manziel, that's it. He'll be great and blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, because nobody can block for him. Not to mention he's got a ton of personal problems, but that's beside the point. So that drives me nuts a little bit, too. Kind of the same theme, I guess, basically.
All right. What is the craziest thing you've ever eaten and enjoyed?
Oh, I'm not a crazy eater. I'm not really one that goes too far off the reservation when it comes to food.
Yeah, same.
I've got a story for this one, actually.
I mean, it's not like it's crazy, but one time, you go, I don't know if either of you have ever been on a cruise, but you go and they serve you dinner at night, and usually you don't really have a whole lot of options. They just kind of give things to you. And so they had duck on the menu one night, and I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And I eat duck, but
duck's delicious, and it's
duck's not out of the ordinary though. So it's not like, I mean, it's a poultry, it's a bird. You could eat it, I guess.
Duck's delicious.
Yeah,
I would say, God, it's not really that crazy. One night when we were drunk, we had potato chips and mustard. So we dipped the potato chips in mustard, and it was fucking delicious. And the other thing, one time, I don't know, somebody told me to try this. You made pancakes with ham, cheese, peanut butter, jelly, and syrup. And it was awesome. I'm not kidding. It was so good. But I mean, they're hardly crazy. Just little things like that.
I mean,
I've never eaten I don't know, escargot or anything like that. I'm just not I'm a person that eats to stay alive. Basically, I'm not a foodie at all.
As a kid, I put ketchup on pretty much everything, and it was even if it didn't deserve it or needed it. And then when they came out with those colored ketchups, I had a purple. I had purple ketchup, which was interesting.
My buddy Charlie, who listens to the show, he likes fish with ketchup on it, which I just go, okay, whatever, man.
I do that with fish sticks or
I can see it with a fish stick, but a fish sandwich, I'm thinking that's a little too far for me. All right, Mike, what's your story on the food?
So when I was in high school, I was over at a friend's house playing video games, and we got hungry, felt like popcorn, but the microwave was broken, but my friend had like this one of those air poppers, but the popcorn, the kernels weren't salted or buttered, so it was just plain popcorn. But that's kind of dull. So we took some butter flavored Pam spray and sprayed the plain popcorn and then salted it. And the good thing was, as soon as we finished a layer, we just sprayed the next layer of popcorn down.
Was it good?
Actually, it was, yeah.
Okay.
And what league of the Big Four do you think will expand next if they do choose to expand?
We addressed this last week. NHL has to be.
Yeah, it has to be.
Yeah, I mean, they have to even things up. So.
Yep.
Although if they just left it at 31 for like 15 years, that would be the most NHL thing that they could do.
Oh, that's true. Well, here's a question though to kind of build on that.
Uh-huh.
Do you think that MLB will ever expand ever again?
Eventually, but I don't think we're going to see it for a good long while. Where would they go?
I don't think they will, because like whenever you hear about where are they going to move the Tampa Bay Rays, the sticking point is, well, where could they possibly move them to?
I mean, we've talked about it before. You got Portland, maybe might be a good market, maybe Charlotte, but there's not a lot of options out there.
Charlotte, and you know what I was thinking when I saw the College World Series going on, and I saw the stadium that they built there pretty recently, how big it actually is. Maybe Omaha.
Could be.
It's a weird idea, but why not?
Well, it's got to be. I think really for any sport other than the NFL, probably at this point, you've almost got to go the route of you're the only game in town for it to really, really work. And Omaha, just a baseball team in Omaha would probably do very, very well. Kind of like the Thunder did in Oklahoma City, along those lines. But I don't think that baseball doesn't need to expand right now, and they will eventually again because they all do. But I think we're a minimum 20 years away from seeing it.
Well, in baseball's actually, I guess this Big Four, so that doesn't count. But the baseball's probably the hardest to expand to, also because you have you get your major league team, but then you need a AAA and a AA and a single A and a high A and a rookie ball. Mm-hmm. And there's so much more infrastructure that goes into putting together a brand new baseball team out of thin air.
Well, yeah, because you've got to come up with 5-6 new teams to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to come up with 500 new baseball players.
Right. Well, another market though that I think would be interesting would be Vancouver for baseball.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot out there for them to expand.
I think the other thing, and I think we brought this up too, is that when you get to a certain point, there are some baseball teams with look at the friggin' Padres, for example. There just may not be enough talent to really. Yeah.
The Padres need to be euthanized as a franchise.
That poor city. Such a great stadium and really just great people. Kind of a great fan base when they have something to do with it. But God, the Padres are.
Yeah, I think that to back to the original question, it's going to be the NHL. It shouldn't be, but it will be. And after that, probably the NFL is going to try to do one of those stupid European things.
You know the NFL sitting at the perfect 32 will fuck it up somehow because the league just can't leave well enough alone.
Yeah, they're going to what we're going to get is we're going to go to 34 and it's going to be like London and I don't know, Madrid or somewhere. Mexico City, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that would just be fantastic. All right.
Just to close that out, I'm just going to maintain what I've said all along. Every one of these leagues could do well by contracting about 4 teams, even the NFL.
28's probably the ideal for every league. But moving on to Marble 21, he wants to know if Kim Jong-un will retain the Glorious Tournament of Victory title next year. Of course he will.
He already has. He's already won it. Yeah.
Of course. Kim Jong-un will of course repeat. There's no doubt about that. All right. Next question. Since you first began recording the show many years ago, are there any sports-based opinions of yours which have drastically changed?
Wow. Probably. I can't think of any, but are we talking issue-based opinions, or what do we mean by that?
Any opinion within the realm of sports?
I'm sure there is. I know, when you're on Facebook, once a day they send you these things check out your memories from so many years ago and whatever.
Yeah.
What you posted this day several years ago. So funnily enough, the not the last Women's World Cup, but 2 Women's World Cups ago. I made a thing. I posted a status on Facebook like, God, ESPN, why are you dedicating so much time to this thing that nobody gives a damn about? Like, you're leading your show with this. It's like we could be talking about real sports. Then fast forward just 4 years after that to the last Women's World Cup, and I'm like all about it. I'm like, oh, this is really entertaining. This is exciting. Did you see how cool that was? Wow. So it's just so stuff changes. I couldn't, when it comes to the last 5 years of this show specifically, I couldn't really tell you any. If anything, I'm the one that's been fighting for some of the weirder sports opinions over time. I would say I fought that soccer fight. I will continue to fight that soccer fight,
and you'll continue to lose that soccer fight.
You don't know.
Well, we've talked soccer before. I'm not adverse to it. I just don't know shit about it. But if we've had some good soccer conversations. Not very many, I'll be the first to admit. But we've had a few that were pretty good, I thought, and enjoyable, even for me. For in 5 years, I'm back into the NHL. When at the beginning of the show, I'd kind of drifted away from it, so I'm more into that than I used to be. But I'm sure, like Zach said, if I went back and looked up my Facebook memories, there's probably a bunch of things that I've changed my mind on. I don't know. I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
I retract nothing.
Yeah, well, it's like when people go and cherry pick, whether it's on the boards or Twitter or whatever, and you go back so many years to well, you said this 5 years ago. It's like, yeah, well, I don't think that way now.
Yeah.
I think the funniest was when Headley tried to get me on something that I said 10 years ago, and it's
literally,
dude,
who would even remember that, right?
Dude. My parents don't even give enough of a crap about what I said 10 years ago.
Yeah, how old were you 10 years ago, Mike? 18, 19?
19, yeah.
Yeah, do you take anything that a 19-year-old has?
No. I say, what the fuck are you talking about? You're 19. You don't know anything.
Right.
Yeah. I think the only thing maybe is that because we've talked so much about the Olympics and their issues over time, I remember just oh yeah, gung ho, bring the Olympics everywhere. Now it's bring the Olympics nowhere.
Sochi and Rio both had interesting stories that kind of changed that narrative.
Right.
And Marble 21 also wants to know, when did we update the logo? That's all on Greg, I think.
Well, basically, that was the logo that Adam made for the Glorious Tournament of Victory logo this past year, and when Twitter switched over to the round avatars, our Tim TV bow didn't work anymore, so I threw up the Adam's alternate logo, and it looks pretty good, but because it's all of a different color scheme, I had to change everything, and it doesn't look half bad. I don't know if it's going to be permanent, but it's what it is right now, and that's why it happened. You can basically blame Twitter and their round avatars for the entire
they're
change.
Stupid round avatars, by the way. I just want to issue that.
It's really awful.
Yep. So that's why that happened, and we're glad you like it.
Yeah, I can pick it up now.
Okay.
Let's move on to Beer Guy Jordan.
Tell you what, let me step in here. Let's do Beer Guy Jordan. This is going to be a 2-part episode, folks, because we're about 90 minutes in. So we'll do his questions, and that'll wrap up part 1, and then we'll finish it up next week with part 2 during All-Star Weekend or whatever the hell it is. All right, go
ahead. Beer Guy Jordan's first question: what is your weirdest personal sports story?
I've got 2, both involving the Toronto Raptors.
Go for it.
The most recent one was not during their last playoff run, but during their run the previous season where they lost to Cleveland at the Eastern Conference Finals. I went with some friends to one of those outdoor viewing things outside the Air Canada Center.
Mm-hmm.
And inside the ACC at the same time was a Justin Bieber concert. And so, a bunch of Toronto sports fans looking to, watch the Raptors game outside on, the big projection screen were also mingling with, the Beliebers. So that was interesting. Another one involved years back when I was in university. myself and a friend used my friend's girlfriend, who was Korean, to get us into a Toronto Raptors game because the University of Western Ontario had a Korean the Korean Students Association had a Raptors night. And we're like, you're Korean. Can you get us in? And she did. And so my friend and I went to a Raptors game with a bunch of Koreans.
Did you pose as Koreans?
No.
Oh, you should have.
No,
that would have made it better.
We did not, no.
All right.
So,
what do you got, Zach? I'll save mine for last because I think it's kind of funny.
I'm trying to think of anything weird like that, or like anything that I've covered that's weird.
That's what mine's going to be, is a thing I did when I was covering minor league baseball. I may have told this before, but I'll tell it again.
I mean, I ran into Ryan Getzlaff at an Olive Garden. That was after. He was actually sitting next to his brother, who I recognized first, because his brother is a wide receiver in the CFL.
I want to know, does he take advantage of the unlimited breadsticks?
Probably.
Okay.
As most do. I don't know. It was weird because like I walked in and I saw a very tall man at the, waiting to get seated with a younger kid that had a backwards Saskatchewan Roughriders hat on. And the first thing that clicked in my head, I'm like, oh, that's the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Oh, that's the team that Ryan Getzlaff's brother plays on. That guy looks tall. And then like that little thing like stuck in my head, like that's interesting. And then we sat down, and that guy and a lady sat down 2 booths in front of us, and it was just the 3 of them, the kid, the what ultimately ended up being Chris Getzlaff, and then their mom, I would assume. And then around the corner walks Ryan, and I was like, oh, well, what do you know?
Did you say anything to him?
Because, yeah, well, like, we were sitting there, and, like, I told my aunt, and she's a Ducks fan like the rest of us are, and she's just like, oh, we got to go get something. I'm like, I'm wearing a Ducks hat. I'm wearing a Ducks shirt. But it's like, I don't have anything for him to sign, or, like, I don't want to just go up and, like, interrupt his dinner, or he's with his family or whatever. And then my aunt, the waiter came around, and my aunt's like, there's a professional hockey player over there. The guy's like, oh, okay. Because the waiter had no clue, obviously, who he was. Mm-hmm. So the only things we had were a children's menu and a crayon. So I walked up, and I was like, hi, Mr. Getzlaff, how you doing? I'm a big fan, and I hope I'm not interrupting your dinner or anything. He's like, oh, it's okay. He's, nice, polite Canadian. I was like, would you mind signing this? I mean, I didn't have anything else. Yeah, I didn't have anything else. He's like, oh, yeah, sure.
In crayon.
Yeah, in a crayon.
That's fucking awesome.
And the best part was his mom's like, well, I have a pen. And I'm just like, no, you know what?
No.
This will be interesting. And so he signs it. He broke the crayon while he was trying to write it. And I was just like, hey, thanks, man. You had a great game yesterday. Good luck against Nashville on Friday or whatever. And that was that. And that was like 5-6 years ago. It was a while back.
Mine comes courtesy of the Richmond Braves, the AAA affiliate of the Atlanta Braves. They had a player, I can't remember his name, but he was Hispanic, did not speak English very well, and the team thought it would be funny if he thought that fuck was basically a word that you use to describe everything, be it hitting the ball, pitching the ball, whatever. So after the game, this guy went out. He went off that day. He had like 2 home runs, 7 RBIs, the whole bit. So after the game, we're interviewing him. Everybody's around. And somebody asked him a question about the first home run, and he goes, well, he thought he was going to fuck that ball past me, but I said, you're not fucking me with that ball. I'm fucking that ball right out of the park. And you know what? I got my swing, and I fucked that ball right out of here. And it was just constantly for 10 minutes of him describing everything he did, like by fucking the ball out of the park. He's like, fuck him. I fucked that ball right the fuck out of here. And it was hysterical. I've got tape of it somewhere. One of these days I will dig it up and post it so everybody can hear it. But it is like the funniest damn thing I've ever heard in my life. So that's like the weirdest thing that ever happened with me was him, he thought he was going to fuck me with that curveball. I said, no, you're not going to fuck me with that pitch. And I fucked that ball right out of here. Yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah, I was trying to think of any like weird things like that. I mean, I have stories where it's like I've been pushed to deadline because of the lights turning off and stuff like that. But
I do have one other one, although I was not there, so I can't verify the the accuracy of this, but a guy I used to work with in radio was covering the Syracuse Orangemen basketball team, and they had a player named John Wall. Or no, I take that back. It was the Pistons were in town for an NBA exhibition or something. I don't know if you guys know who Rick Mahorn is. He used to be one of the bad boys for the Detroit Pistons anyway.
Yeah.
I guess after he takes a shower, he covers his private parts with Vaseline. And one of the guys that was working there, looked at him and said, "Why do you do that?" And got, just the strangest look. So, I don't know. I can't say for sure that one's true or not, but I don't know that I would have asked the question, especially of a large black man that's 6'10" and outweighs me by 100 pounds, but whatever. All right, what's next, Mike? Oh, sorry, go ahead, Zach.
Yeah. Well, the only thing I was going to say was that the only weird thing when it comes to, the job is the coach that wouldn't talk to me, the last thing. But supposedly, by the way, he's from rumors say that he may be getting forced out of his position at the school. So
they'll teach him not to talk to you.
Yeah, well, he's kind of a jackass. So
all right, Mike, what's next?
Well, I'm reading.
Zach's reading the questions.
Oh, sorry, Zach.
What's next? Guy Jordan, do you think the NHL should honor WHA stats?
No.
No, different league. They didn't even let the teams that come in keep most of their rosters. So
how many years did the WHA last? 4 or 5, something like that.
Not even 10.
Yeah, this isn't an ABA or AFL type situation we've got here. This league, I think teams folded.
7 years. 7 years.
But I don't think so. I think it wasn't like at any point did you think that they were clearly the equal of the NHL. Where I think in the AFL especially, you could make that argument. I never saw that with the WHA. So
yeah,
I say no.
I know some people argue this because of the Gordie Howe part, where if you add in his WHA stats, then that makes him still higher than Gretzky and far and away in terms of games and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I don't think so, because like I said, there's just so much. Yeah, some of the teams came over, but the continuity just isn't there.
With the WHA question, we are going to stop and end part 1 of the 3rd annual Ask Us Anything show, and we'll pick it up again next week. And in the meantime, you can follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports. Check out all the old episodes on Tumblr at basicallysports.tumblr.com, and subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, and YouTube. And, of course, find us on Facebook.